Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today is an absolutely beautiful day to dive into the madness of Port Charles, and we have a massive amount of narrative ground to cover. Can we be honest about this for a second? I have just finished watching the latest clashes on General Hospital, and I am typing this while the sheer audacity of Carly Spencer is still burning a hole in my brain. I need to get these thoughts out because the writing choices we are witnessing right now are pushing every single button I have as someone who studies the craft of soap storytelling. We need to talk about Carly. We need to talk about this mysterious, arrogant WSB figure Z, and we need to talk about the absolute delusion that is currently driving the Spencer Corinthos matriarch. Am I supposed to pretend that Carly's behavior makes any logical sense right now? Because it does not. It is infuriating, it is hypocritical, and yet, from a dramatic standpoint, it is exactly the kind of character flaw that makes for explosive television. Let me say this clearly. Carly Spencer has a chronic, undeniable habit of gravitating toward the most dangerous, lethal men on the planet. We are talking about Jack Brennan, a man who demands absolute control and is currently leveraging a medical crisis into a dark alliance with Willow. We are talking about Valentine Cassadine, a known fugitive with a history of slipping through tight nets, a man who operates entirely in the shadows. And of course, we are talking about Sonny Corinthos, the mob boss who has defined the violence and chaos of Port Charles for decades. Carly flirts with danger, she sleeps with danger, she marries danger. But the second her precious Jocelyn is involved in anything remotely risky, Carly suddenly demands a sterile, perfectly safe bubble. She actually had the nerve to march up and demand that Z fire Jocelyn from the WSB immediately. She demanded it. She stood there, frowning sternly, as if she were speaking to a high school principal about a bad grade, rather than a high-ranking operative of a super-secret international intelligence agency. I mean, honestly, the sheer entitlement of that moment was staggering. But what happened next is why I am so deeply invested in this current arc. Z did not cower. Z did not apologize. Z laughed in her face. And let me tell you, that laugh was the sound of millions of fans collectively cheering. Z drew a hard, unyielding line that Carly is simply not allowed to cross. He looked her dead in the eye, smirked, and reminded her that he does not take orders on how to run a global covert organization from anyone, let alone the mommy of one of his agents. It was a brilliant, sharp, and desperately needed reality check. For years, the show has allowed Carly to bulldoze her way through every professional and personal boundary in Port Charles. To see a character finally stand up, entirely unbothered by her signature glare, and shut her down was a masterclass in shifting the power dynamic. But Z's response was not just about the WSB. It was a massive, pointed piece of meta-commentary from the writers. When Z was talking to Carly, he was acting as the voice of the audience. He was channeling a late-night host, delivering a scathing monologue to modern helicopter parents. What he was really saying was, stop overprotecting your children. Your kids are grown adults. Do not fill out their college applications for them. Do not go to their job interviews. Do not pre-screen their Tinder dates. Just stop. It was a beautifully crafted speech that transcended the immediate plot and spoke directly to Carly's core psychological flaw. She refuses to let her children face the consequences of the adult worlds they have willingly entered. And let us look at the terrifying reality of what Jocelyn is actually going through right now. Because Carly's delusion is in stark contrast to the lethal stakes on Spoon Island. Jocelyn is not failing a college course. She is being held captive at Windermere by Ross Cullum and Jen Sidwell. She is suffering a profound, severe psychological breakdown. She is trapped in a nightmare, watching Liesl Obrecht get violently abducted and thrown into captivity alongside her. The WSB is actively plotting to ship Jocelyn off to France to be treated and controlled, mirroring the exact tragic psychological torment that Anna Devane was subjected to years ago. This is not a game. This is life, death, and total mental destruction. And yet, Carly thinks she can just speak to the manager of the WSB and have Jocelyn sent home with a warning. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of the monster she is fighting. Carly's hovering did not protect Jocelyn. If anything, her constant interference left Jocelyn ill-equipped to survive the very real, very dark world she has stumbled into. But the infantilization does not stop with Jocelyn, does it? Oh no, because we have to talk about Michael. I am sorry, but this did not work for me at all. The way Carly continues to treat Michael as if he is a vulnerable teenager who needs his mother to hold his hand. Michael Corinthos is a fully grown man. He has 2 children. He has a terrible track record with women, yes, but he is also currently operating as a ruthless shadow investigator in his own marriage. Have we forgotten what Michael is actually doing right now while Carly is trying to tuck him in at night? Michael is actively embracing his dark Corinthos side. He is cold, vindictive, and calculating. He is plotting to expose Brooke Lynn as the hit-and-run driver who struck Jordan, not out of a sense of justice, but specifically to destroy Brooke Lynn and Chase's marriage. Why? So he can push his own wife, Willow, into an affair with Chase, just to gather blackmail material. He has hired a private investigator, Elaine, to photograph them. He is orchestrating a sinister, multi-layered plot to ruin multiple lives so he can maintain control. Michael is dangerous. He is his father's son, and yet Carly treats him like he is a fragile boy who needs protecting from the big bad world. It is narrative whiplash, and it proves just how deep Carly's denial truly runs. This brings me to the most thrilling and terrifying prediction for where this storyline is heading. Z is not just brushing Carly off for the sake of a good comeback. Z is a strategist. The WSB is looking to expand its unchecked power and influence in Port Charles. If Z wants to truly establish a foothold, if he wants to gain new explosive leverage in this city, who is the perfect target? Michael. Z is absolutely going to pivot and target Michael to secure a new power base. And why wouldn't he? Michael has the Corinthos wealth, the ELQ connections, and a closet full of dirty secrets that the WSB could easily exploit. The shockwave of Z moving against Michael would be monumental. It would completely shatter Carly's illusion that she can control the board. Because what is Carly going to do now? She is not going to back down. We know the rhythm of this show, and we know Carly. She is going to launch a full-scale, desperate war against Z and the WSB. She is already ignoring Valentine's explicit, stern warnings to back off. She is using Lucas as an excuse to investigate Windermere. She is marching right into the jaws of a beast she does not understand. And let me tell you, I am terrified and exhilarated by this choice. On one hand, I love seeing Carly go to bat for her kids. The fierce maternal defiance is Laura Wright's sweet spot, and she plays it with absolute fire. But on the other hand, this is the WSB. This is an organization that breaks people's minds. They broke Anna. They are breaking Jocelyn. If Carly thinks she can outmaneuver Z with sheer volume and a scowl, she is walking into a trap that will decimate her family. We are watching a collision course between a mother's desperate need for control and an international agency that specializes in stripping control away. It is brilliant structural storytelling because it forces Carly to face the one thing she cannot manipulate, a system that does not care about her feelings. For years, Carly has relied on Sonny's mob muscle or Jason's gun to solve her problems. But Z does not care about the local mob. Z operates on a global scale. When Carly pushes back, the retaliation is going to be biblical. And I have to say, my heart aches for little Donna. Donna better hope Carly learns her lesson soon, or she is going to grow up in the exact same cycle of trauma, overprotection, and explosive danger that Jocelyn and Michael are currently drowning in. Carly needs to realize that her children are adults who make their own choices, and sometimes those choices lead to dark, terrifying places. You cannot speak to the manager of consequence. You cannot demand a refund on reality. I am absolutely convinced that the writers are setting Carly up for a massive, tragic fall. She is going to push Z too far. She is going to escalate this war in an attempt to save Jocelyn and protect Michael, and in doing so, she is going to hand Z the exact ammunition he needs to take over Port Charles. I do not sound uncertain about this because the writing is on the wall in bold neon letters. The pacing of this arc is relentless, the dialogue is sharp, the emotional stakes are higher than they have been in years. If the show actually follows through and allows Carly to suffer the real consequences of her arrogance, this could go down as one of the most defining storylines of the decade. But they cannot pull their punches. They cannot have Carly magically win this with a sassy remark and a lucky break. Z has to remain a formidable, unyielding wall. Jocelyn has to endure the trauma of her choices. Michael has to face the fallout of his dark machinations. And Carly Spencer has to finally painfully learn that she cannot control the universe. I am strapped in, I am furious, I am invested, and I cannot wait to see who survives the fallout when this entire powder keg finally ignites.